That is a really cheap auction score. It is a 2010, 11, 12, 13, something like that. Bobcat, like 3400 XL. Basically a Polaris, I think it's a Polaris Ranger 500. It's got a single cylinder Polaris engine, fuel injected. Even the body says it's built by Polaris, so I believe it's just a rebadged Ranger. I don't know, but all I know is we scored the thing really cheap at an auction because it's got a problem. So today, we're gonna get this thing out. I'll take you for a quick buzz up the driveway. We'll show you what it's actually doing wrong. Then we're gonna get it in the shop, get the service manual out, get a few test instruments together, and we're gonna work together to figure out what's wrong with this thing and why did we get it so cheap. Welcome to Project Time Garage. Well, it's been sitting on the trailer for a couple of days. Let's hear a startup of it. I believe that's just a safety mechanism, because when you take the parking brake off, you can kind of hear what's going on right there. If I take the gas pedal and I push it down about 3/4 of the way, the engine revs good. If I go the rest of the way to the floor, the engine actually decelerates and sounds like it's getting worse. Listen. That's pretty good. That's not. That may be a governor, but I don't think so. Let me show you why. Let's back this thing off here. Now let's go for a quick ride. We'll start off in low range. Got good power right there. Okay, so here is 3/4 throttle, here is full throttle. It's actually slowing down to the point where it's about gonna stop on me, I think. If I just keep holding it at full throttle and I'll start up a little bit of a grade, we're basically stopping here. Under full throttle, it really won't even pull itself up the hill. I'd say we're going probably, I don't know, 1.5 miles an hour right now, all the way on the floor. You can hear the engine. It's not happy. It's making all kind of terrible noise. But if I let off on the gas just a little bitty bit, we're about right there. Here we go. So that's your issue. That's what we've got to fix. So let's put it in the shop and see if we can take care of this. Well, according to the manual, this is where the engine lives. So reason and logic 101, right? What do we think it is? We give it some gas, runs good. Give it more gas, runs worse. So do we have an air restriction or do we have a fuel restriction? Those are the first two things that come to mind. Of course, yes, it's fuel injected, which means it's got an ECU, and the ECU can be doing all kind of stuff too, but troubleshoot the simple stuff first, right? We're gonna start with fuel pressure. We're gonna see what it looks like, because doing a little bit of looking on the forums, I found that a lot of people talk about having fuel pressure issues out of these things, or fuel pump issues out of these things. So that'd be over there. Let's go look at that. Well, right off the crack of the bat, I see something that gives me pause. Made in China. Now, I would figure this being a predominantly Polaris machine. In fact, you see right there, it's Polaris on the side of the engine. Polaris right there, 2012 model, 210 of 2012. Polaris there, Polaris there. Suffice to say, it's basically a Polaris. So I got to believe that, you know, drivetrain, engine, transmission, all that stuff are going to be Polaris, probably right alongside with the electronics. Well, the electronics probably weren't made by Polaris, but they were probably sourced by people like, you know, Bosch and others. But I can't imagine that they would use a fuel pickup made in China on these. I mean, they probably were made in China, but they probably wouldn't say made in China right on the top of them. Leads me to believe that this is probably an aftermarket pump. So it means one of two things. Either somebody was chasing this exact same problem and put a fuel pump on it, or somebody had a fuel pump go bad and replaced it and never could get it to run right after that and sold the thing cheap at an auction. I wonder if that's not our culprit. Look at this too. When you're looking at this fuel pump assembly, you'll notice this. Factory didn't do that. This is all pulled back. So in fact, you can see where that original pigtail was a little longer than this. So somebody's been here. That's what that means. I think the first thing that we need to do is let's just run a fuel pressure test on this thing, and let's run that fuel pressure test under load. You know, let's see what we've got at idle. Let's see what we've got moving along. And then more importantly, let's see what the service manual says as far as what the fuel pressure should be, because I don't have a clue. So let's get set up to do all that. So here's what the manual says. Basically, hook up a fuel pressure tester, which we're gonna do here in a second, and then do this. Turn on the key, that activates pump, check the pressure on the gauge. If it is 39 PSI, plus or minus 3, then you're good. Otherwise, if the pressure is too high or low, replace the fuel pump. So we need to kick the key on and see if we get 36 to 42. We're gonna go a little further with this deal too. You know, it's entirely possible we'll get 36 to 42 with the machine idling, but it's also entirely possible that once we take off up the road and we push the gas and the system says, hey, yo, give me some more fuel pressure, could be that the pump just can't keep up. Let me get a fuel, ooh, I am washed out. Ooh, let me get a fuel pressure tester and we'll go from there. So for this kind of fuel line, it's a quick disconnect. So you squeeze these two tabs and you push them in. You can see over here, this thing here pops up. And of course, there's gonna be pressure on this line right now because I didn't follow the instructions in the manual and bleed the fuel pressure first. So watch your eyes. There we go, fixed it. All right, so this is what we have here right now. I need to find a way to get my fuel pressure tester between these 2 points. So I need a male, female, T. Let's see what we've got here. Pick that back up for a second. This is the fuel pressure test kit that I have here. Pretty much the only way you can get this kit is just to jump out on Amazon and buy it. And I am so helpful that I'm going to leave a link right down there in the description. So under this video, if you click on the more info, you'll see the description box down there. It tells you all about me and the channel and the video and all that junk. And I'm going to leave an Amazon link there where you can go buy this. It's cheap, and man, it is a lifesaver of a kit. It is awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Can't say enough good about it. And yeah, I paid for it. I'm not sponsored. I bought it my own money. So anyway, I think we've got a couple of these things. Maybe one came from Harbor Freight and one came from Amazon, but this one's got way more stuff in it than I have ever had before. Anyway, so what we need is, I think this one right here, possibly. I believe this one right here. So I believe this will go over here, yes? Yes, it will. And I believe this will go in here, yes? No, sure won't. Maybe it will. Hang on. Let's do this right here. It might. I think this is actually too big, possibly. No, it's the same one. There we go. So there's that in. All right. Now we have a quick connect here that our actual gauge hooks up to. So now we have a fuel pressure gauge hooked up and in play. I want to put you guys where you can see the fuel pressure gauge too. There we go. Fuel pressure gauge. Right now we're at 0. Key on. Okay, that's 10. Key off. Key on. Yeah, that's 10. Let's start the bike. Got about 20. Bleed some of the air out of it here real quick. It's showing 30 there. So that's not exactly what the manual said. We have 30 pounds at an idle, but we did not have 30 pounds with key on. We had more like 10, 11, something like that. I'm gonna get on the machine, put it in drive, hold I'm basically gonna brake stand the thing, put it to the floor and see if we lose fuel pressure. Here's what's gonna happen next. I have the fuel pressure gauge mounted here. We're gonna get on the machine and we're gonna just run it up the driveway a couple of times. And I'm just gonna watch the fuel pressure and see if it dips down substantially below 30. If it does, I'm comfortable calling fuel pump. If it doesn't, we're going somewhere else. Well, I don't know if fuel pump is the problem with the bike, but I believe fuel pump is a problem for the bike. It wasn't as smoking gun definitive as I wish it were. You know, the book says 36 to 42 PSI. It wants around 39 nominal. And obviously I was around 29 the whole time. I didn't reach 30. In fact, sitting here now with the machine turned off, now that you know, the fuel's heating up some and there's some, you know, radiant heat coming off the engine and the fuel's trying to expand, I'm just now to what, 32 pounds? Yeah, 32 pounds. So I don't know if the fuel pump is the problem with the machine or not, but I know that the fuel pressure is lower than what the book calls for. And my first suspect is that fuel pump, that China fuel pump. So I think probably the next thing to do is let's order a replacement fuel pump for it and at least get that one thing into specification and then rewrite it again. You know, this could also be throttle position sensor, but I'm hesitant to go much further on one until, you know, until everything else in the fuel system is right, you know, is within spec. There's no point in swapping sensors and things until you get that right. So that's where we're going to go next. So we'll be back as soon as the fuel pump comes in, which should be just any second now. Stand by. Well, I went ahead and pulled the old pump out, and this is what it looks like. Looks like just a standard automotive type pump to me. There's a part number on it, but actually says it's a Bosch pump. Interesting. What I do have though is I do have this pump. This is a Deechworks pump that I had for some other project, my Shelby or something. Anyway, it's never been used. And I was just kind of looking at it and everything seems right, except this pump slides up into this sleeve here. And this pump is just such a little bitty bit bigger. It's also a little bit taller. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to split the side of this with my splitter. We're going to put it together and see what it does. So safety splints.
there's that. At this point, we should be able to at least get it in there. Yep, we can get it in there up to where it's supposed to live. And then this mess here fits down into here. And this fits like that, like so. And then this whole thing goes down over it. I know it's keyed some specific way, probably like this right here. I may or may not have broken a couple of things getting it apart. May have. Yeah, just a little bit. Oh wait, upside down. I'm an idiot. Let's try this. Yes. And yes. And I think so. So it is just a little bit taller than the old pump, unfortunately. So I think that's going to hurt us some. I don't think it's going to fit all the way in there. Don't know. Yeah, it's not going to fit all the way in it, unfortunately. There's just not enough to keep it there. Anybody want to try zip tying it? Let's put a couple of zip ties on it and just see where it lands. I don't expect this to hold up in gasoline, but what this will absolutely do is prove my concept for me. If this works better, then I know for a fact that I have a bad fuel pump. So let's go back out there to the machine and see if we can kind of finagle this back together. Oh yeah, that goes on there too. All right, and you can see they're the same pump basically. Here's what we've got. We've got our new pump just kind of sort of stuck in there. Probably not how it needs to stay, but it's in there. And when we turn the key on, not getting any pressure at all. All right, there it comes. Key on. See if it'll start. Yeah. Way, way, way better. Okay, let's try this. See how it works. Okay, let's go take a ride with this on it. Or broke down. Another fueling issue. It's out of gas. Out of gas. So I wasn't out of gas. Pump keeps falling off because we just zip tied it up there just for a second. to see if it would work. It worked for a second. It worked good. Proved our concept. So stick this back in here, see what we got. Well, this is what we came up with. We have the new pump. It looks a little bit janky. Don't judge. It works, we think. And that's it. Well, that fixed it. So just happened to have a fuel pump left over from another project. Just kind of happened to be able to kind of rig it up where it worked. And now we've got good 40 pounds of fuel pressure. Throttle works on the floor. Life is good. So I hope somebody learned something from that. I know I did. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Guys, I appreciate you watching.